Hey guys, good evening. It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Welcome to IFYL Inspirations for Your Life. It is May 20th, 2024. It's 11:20 p.m. And whether you're here 11:20 p.m., 11:20 a.m., 3 a.m., 3 p.m., 6 a.m., 6 p.m., doesn't really matter. I'm so grateful that you are here with us with another fantastic show. First of all, I do want to express my humble gratitude to all of you because our numbers are climbing. And also, I've been noticing our downloads are staying consistent. So even though we get a lot of new numbers and new stats, we're getting consistent downloads every day. But I do appreciate if you would go to believemeachieve.com, and go ahead and follow me on TikTok. You do that. There's going to be some great content streaming right out to TikTok Live. So you're definitely going to want to do that. Just in the last day or so, we've had over 130 downloads in just one day. That means we've had over 800 some downloads in 30 days. That's pretty cool. And we are growing. So I do want to thank you guys for being with us. And after tonight, in case you guys are wondering, the Inspirations for Your Life show will have published 990 episodes. That's as of tonight, but as of tomorrow on the audio cast, right? Because it's 24 hours for us to do that. So let's dig right into the topic, shall we? All right. So first of all, this weekly topic is about something called something we all know, understanding auditory precision and its impact. We talked about silence last night, but there's a lot to audio that can affect the success of our life. And so tonight's master topic is echoes of insight, unraveling the mysteries of hearing and sound. If you want to know what it's like to not hear, you could put cotton balls in your ears or put these little earplugs in your ears, like, people that shoot guns, they put them in, you really can't hear anything. It's like these little, they're almost like a wax piece or like a foam piece, and they really block out 99.9% of sound. And so we really have to be grateful for being able to see, being able to hear, but this whole week is about hearing. So I want to talk tonight about the science of hearing. So what is the science of hearing, everyone? Well, basically, the idea is that the human ear is pretty remarkable, right? And we'll go into more of this in a little bit, but I think the fact that we can have an organ like this on our body and it being able to harness sound waves that turn into what we'll call intelligible sounds and words, and have the power to relax us. So the mystery of hearing. The ear transforms sound vibrations into what we can relate to, right? From the external environment into the nerve impulses that are conveyed into our brain. And they are interpreted as sounds. And sounds are produced when vibrating objects, such as a plucked string of a guitar, produce pressure or pulses of vibrating air, right? So this is really, really cool. Let's dive on to the next point. So how do our ears, how our ears work? Does anybody know? How do our ears work? Does anybody want to take a gander at that? So really, it's about how we hear. Have you ever paused to think about that? So sound waves enter the ear, okay, through the external auditory meatus, which is the ear canal. And the pinna is the visible portion of your ear. And it's a funnel, and it's engineered so the sound can basically be, let's say, pushed to the center where the very important part of your ear, the external auditory meatus is. And as sound hits the pinna of our ear, which is the top part, right? It actually filters and amplifies sound waves, and then it just kind of booms them into the ear canal. And this is according to Dr. Midadaisa. So he had come up with that idea. And sound moves through the middle ear, ladies and gentlemen. It moves through the middle ear. And so the middle ear is very important. Behind the eardrum is the middle ear. So behind the eardrum, ladies and gentlemen, is considered the middle ear. The middle ear is basically composed of the incus and the stapes. And so a little more of the process. The eardrum is attached to a chain of 3 small bones called the ocelus. And these 3 bones are the smallest ones in your body. And when the eardrum vibrates in response to sound waves, these bones are set into motion as well. So the bone directly attached to the eardrum is the hammer, or known as the malleus, right? We've probably heard that before. And that is still considered, according to the technology and the classification, as part of the middle ear, right? So that's really important. And so, as I said, when the eardrum vibrates in response to sound waves, the bones are set into motion. This is really, really cool. So the malleus, the hammer, which is connected at its other end to the incus, okay? The incus, which is known as the anvil, okay? So you have, again, we have the hammer, or we have the basically it's the malleus, okay, and the malleus is connected to another very important part of the ear, which is the hammer, which is the incus or the anvil, okay. And so the way this works is that the incus basically takes its turn and is attached to the stapes, or the footplate, and the shape of the osculus provides inspiration, as you can see, for the nickname. But the last bone is the stapes. It's connected to the oval window, which is the membrane that separates the middle ear from the inner ear. Okay, the middle ear from the inner ear. All right, now, so sound moves through the inner ear, known as the cochlea. The vibrations from the stapes move forward onto the oval window, and they pressure in the sound waves in the fluid-filled cochlea, the snail-shaped inner ear that contains the organ of Corti. In the organ of the Corti, vibrations are finally transformed into electrical energy by cells known as hair cells. So I bet you didn't know this. So we start off with it coming through, and then as it's going through the pressure, the waves, okay, then what happens is the filled cochlea, okay, a snail-shaped inner earpiece, contains the organ of the Corti. And again, the Corti has the vibrations that transform that vibration into electrical energy by cells known as hair cells, stereocilia, okay? And this is really cool. Most people don't understand that this is what happens, and it hits the auditory nerve. So the tiny hair cells lining the cochlea are stimulated by different frequencies, which is pretty common. And people that might have hearing loss or issues with high-frequency hearing loss make it harder to hear high-pitched sounds. So this means that the hair cells responsible for detecting high frequencies might have gotten damaged. While less common, some people have low-frequency hearing loss or mid-range hearing loss. So you're born with about 16,000 of these hair cells, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. So these hair cells translate the vibration from sound waves into electrical impulses that travel along a complex pathway of nerve fibers to the brain. Your brain does some pretty cool things. So now that we understand the anatomy of the ear, okay, we know how there's the inner ear, right? We know how there is the outer ear. We know how there is the middle ear, and then there's the inner ear. Okay, and the inner ear, basically from the cochlea to the vestibular nerve, okay, is where we get our sound from. So the thing that's really cool about all this is that with 16,000 hair cells vibrating, that's where we get our sound from. So how does this actually affect us with our brain? So it affects our brain because the brain interprets the signal. Okay, the sound is converted to electrical signals in the cochlea, which we said, and the signals travel via a complex path of circuits on the auditory nerve to the auditory cortex and other parts of the nerve that regulate awareness, sensory perception, etc., and even control our balance. So brain cells, known as sensory neurons, transmit the sound information to various areas of the brain, including the thalamus, the temporal lobe, and the auditory cortex. And so knowing that hearing seems simple for you when you put on headphones or you hear somebody talking, there's a lot that goes on in our head to allow us to be able to hear something. And later on in the week, we're going to talk about microphones, not today, but a microphone works very similar to the way our ear works. I think that's just like amazing. So the next thing I want to talk about is sound waves to neutral sounds, right? So sound waves are when we have frequencies, right, that are going up and down. Neutral sounds. So what is it? What is a neutral sound? What is a neutral sound? Well, neutral, we call it flat. It's just like the name suggests. It has equal values for all frequencies across the board. And as a result, the most natural sounding signature provides the closest reproduction of how the track is supposed to sound. So just between a neutral sound and a good sound. So neutral sounds adhere closely to a target such as, let's say, the tings, auditory, the Harman critical. And it doesn't tell a person whether they like the sound tuning or not. Good sounding is adhering to your own unique preferences. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you should not listen to music, to any kind of presentation or podcast with your earphones turned up high. So, signatures, sound. We can get an amazing, amazing experience with sound. Sound has the ability to transport us into a different world without us ever leaving our chair or our bed. You didn't realize that the ear was so powerful. So the brain is very key in processing these sounds. Okay? And so the auditory pathway that processes and decodes sounds turns them into something meaningful, like a question, a honking horn, or music. And they can help us discern between something that might be important and something that may be just background noise, as well as even giving us keys on the direction and the location of the sound. And some parts of the hearing, directly in concert with the vestibular or the balance system, which is located nearby within the semicircle canals of the inner ear. And so this is really amazing because our ear does some pretty cool things. So the question you guys might be asking is, so how does our ear keep us in balance? Well, the vestibular system includes organs of inner ear, also known as the labyrinth, which contains two primary structures: the cochlea, responsible for hearing, and the vestibular apparatus, responsible for maintaining balance. And when your ear is not right, you're not in balance. So there are two parts of the vestibular system: the central system, the brain and brainstem, and the peripheral system, the inner ear and the nerves to brainstem. The inner ear has two primary components, the cochlea and the vestibular apparatus, the semicircular canals or utricles and saccule. The cochlea is responsible for hearing, and the vestibular apparatus is responsible for balance and positioning. That's pretty amazing, if you ask me. So the vestibular apparatus is the most outer part of the peripheral vestibular system, and it consists of three semicircular ducts responsible for detecting rotational movement of the head and certain organs that can detect linear motion of the head as well. I think that is like really, really amazing. And just understanding how this works, I never knew until I would say many years ago that our ears are responsible for our balance. I mean, I did learn it, but to really appreciate it, maybe you've been on a plane before, right? And so when you're on a plane, sometimes, your ears just do some funny things, right? So I want to share a tip with you tonight. And the tip is this: maybe your ears have gotten stuffed up, right? That's happened. So there's a couple of things you can do. So you can take your nose, okay, you can turn it to the side, and you can just take your head to one side. You can just hold your nose, and blow out very gently. The other thing you can do, if that's not comfortable, you can just turn it to the right, which is even easier, and just swallow. I like that better. Go to the left side, pinch your nose, and swallow. And that's actually safer to do. And you'll notice that when you do it, every time I do it, I can feel something releasing in my ears. One other caution I want to let you guys know is sometimes people want to blow their nose, which is fine. Just, you've got to be careful. When you're blowing your nose, you do it gently, that you don't cause anything to back up into your ears, right? You should never sniff up. Obviously, some people don't follow that. And when you blow your nose, you want to do it gently and carefully. If you use Q-tips, be very, very careful with them. We've just discussed how vital your inner ear is, and even your outer ear. Putting water in your ear, like some warm water, I always find that to be a great treat. Maybe you have a headache or something, you take a shower and you put a little bit of warm water, just letting it sit in there, and just kind of like almost letting it like break up whatever's in there, and just kind of turning your head and just kind of go the other side, putting some more warm water in there and just point. And that feels really, really good. This is why on airplanes, a lot of kids will be given lollipops, or some people will chew gum, because it keeps causing that canal in your ear to keep opening, because when you swallow, it does something. When you turn and swallow, it's more aligned, so the ear canal opens more. If I turn it to the right, so one opens this one more, one opens the other one more. So I think these are really, really cool things. We've talked about a lot tonight. We talked about the fact that, the ear is pretty amazing. And the science of hearing is not just for a STEM class, but it's really something that I think a lot of people take for granted, right? If you remember, we talked about hearing or being able to detect a pin drop in silence. We talked about the fact that our ears right now are not just for hearing. They are the smart organs of our body that keep us in balance. That's really cool. All right. We also learned about our ears. We learned about how they worked. We learned about the different part of the ears, didn't we? We learned that there is the outer ear, composed of the pinna, the external auditory meatus. We learned that after that, we have something, the temporal bone. We have the malleus, right? And up to the malleus on the middle ear, we have the anvil, right? The hammer. We also have the tympanic membrane, which is on the edge of the anvil. We call it a round window, which is part of the stapes. And remember, the stapes has the three circle bones. And what they do is they keep us, they can detect whether we're in balance or not, known as the semicircular canals. And, the canals are just, that's amazing, right? How balance works. It works, ladies and gentlemen, because of our ears. That's amazing, if you ask me. So, fluid, right? We have fluid, and we also learned that vibrations from the stapes push on the oval window and push the pressure in the fluid-filled cochlea. So, your cochlea has fluid in it. And the snail-shaped inner ear that contains the organ of the corti, basically, the vibrations finally are transformed into electrical energy by cells known as hair cells, the stereocilia. So I think this is pretty cool. We're going to talk about some other interesting things coming up. And I believe tomorrow's show, in case you guys are wondering, tomorrow we're going to be talking about the itsy bitsy spider. And we're also going to compare the itsy bitsy spider to our own hearing and how the fact that an itsy bitsy spider can't really hear, but it can use the same premise that we do for hearing, but doesn't seem to be able to notice any sounds. Ladies and gentlemen, I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's been an amazing privilege, a pleasure, and of course an honor to be with you this fantastic Monday evening. Please be sure to visit or go to my hat, believemeachieve.com, scan the QR code, and show me some love. Why not subscribe, follow me? It's free. And you'd really be helping me out. It would help the algorithms out, and more people would be able to get this information that I feel and other people have told me is life-changing. I mean, the fact that I shared a tip with you about how you could, crack your, pop your ears without having to have a big problem. I think that's really, really cool. That is amazing, guys. It's so amazing that our ears have the potential to do some things that you never knew was possible. And the fact, ladies and gentlemen, that we have the ability to use our ears, okay, for something that empowers us, that keeps us in balance. That's what I call amazingly, like, just it's absolutely, when I say amazing, it's amazing. And I hope, ladies and gentlemen, that you will definitely respect your ears. And I hope now that we've shared a little bit about how our ears work and the anatomy of our ears, that we can not only appreciate them, but maybe we can learn to use them more intelligently, save our hearing, and be able to make them more efficient so we can detect those small sounds. By making the choice to listen to things at a low level, not only will you be saving your hearing, but you might just catch an opportunity that you wouldn't have if your hearing wasn't as high as it could be. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys have a fantastic evening, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow, all right? Thanks for tuning in, and please do go to believemeachieve.com and show me some love. I'll be so grateful.